the best places to walk, run, hike, and bike in Tewksbury. Bruce Schick and Jackie Stone, the co-founders of the Friends of Tewksbury Open Space, along with Paige Impink, who's the co-chair of the Tewksbury Open Space and Recreation Plan Committee, will discuss the best spots and trails in town to walk, run, hike, and bike. Some of them you're going to be familiar with, and some of them you probably won't be. And then after Bruce, Jackie, and Paige are done with their presentation, Tewksbury's Jeff, I didn't test your last name out. Tewksbury?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, good enough. So Jeff Tewksbury is here, and he's here to discuss his experience of running all 306 miles of roadway in Tewksbury, every single street, while training for the Boston Marathon a few years ago. So how cool is that? So I also want to thank Jason from Tewksbury Telemedia for filming tonight's event, and for those of you who have arrest warrants out, don't worry. Jason is focusing his attention on the speakers. If anything, you'll get to the back of your head. Okay, that's it. All right. So all 100 of us, let's give a big round of applause to Paige, Jackie, Bruce, and Jeff.
Thank you, Robert. I'm a little nervous using the handheld microphone, so bear with me, please. But a lot of friendly faces in the room, and it looks like a lot of interested walkers in the room, which is very exciting to see as well. So the way we put together this presentation, I'm not sure that there is any one best place to walk in Tewksbury, but we sure have a variety of places that we can all enjoy that might suit our time, our fitness level, and our interests. So bear with us as we go through. Many of these you may already be familiar with. Some may be brand new to you. And we know during our Q&A time that the audience is going to end up sharing some other hidden gems with the rest of us so that we can all take advantage of the great spaces that we have in our community. So, Tewksbury has many choices for walking. You may or may not know we have indoor places to walk for everyone, free of charge, as well as outdoor. We have woodlands and we have pavement. We've got it all. We know that residents are very interested in sidewalks. We saw during our open space and recreation plan community events that people were really excited to see more and more sidewalks. But until that time, we've got a lot of options for you. You don't need to leave the community to get some great exercise. We have open space trails. They offer woodlands and a sense of serenity. You may be familiar with the notion of a nature shower. 20 minutes is all you need out in the forest to have your blood pressure potentially lowered, to have your mood changed, to be a little bit more calm and communing with nature. 20 minutes, all it takes. But we also have tracks and sidewalks to offer you a big energy-focused opportunity for walking as well, for fitness. Would you raise your hand? Does everyone in here already walk for fitness or just walk for recreation? Or you were just at the community market and wandered in? So wonderful. Welcome. We're delighted to have you here. Bruce is going to help me with some information on some of our woodland trails, too. So you may be familiar with the Open Space and Recreation Committee. We've been working very hard to bring documentation about our open space trails to the community. We have map packets that are available. You can help yourself to one after the program, as well as available online through the town website, tewksbury-ma.gov. Feel free to download those maps and take them with you to enjoy some of our trails in the community. The first trail we're going to talk about is the Foster Park Trail. This is approximately 1.5 miles of trails. Bruce, do you want to add some information? It's off of Edith Drive. Has anyone walked there?
Some of us spent a lot of time removing lots of tires and other things from Foster Park when we first opened it up again about 3 years ago. The thing about Foster Park that's really nice, it's a set of windy trails, but it's right on the Shawshene River. If you happen to be a kayaker and you want to drag your kayak through the woods, you can go down and there's a little put in there. And from there, you can go up to Shawshene Launch, which is at Whipple Road. You can go down to Shawshene Overlook, which is down on South Street. And if you're really courageous, you can go all the way to the dam in Andover, providing that the river doesn't have too many trees in it at the time. But if you just want to walk, unfortunately, we are slow at getting kiosks up and so forth, so you have to know where some of these places are. Foster Park is one of them. You just go down the end of Patriot Street, and right across from you looks like somebody's driveway. You walk down that trail, and you're in Foster Park, and then the trails are pretty self-evident because people have ridden on them in their quads, and some of them are pretty well dug up. But it's a very nice walk. I've seen deer in there, and the usual turkeys, and anything else that likes water.
Here's a short walk, if you only have a few moments, really, in your day, but you want to get a little bit of exercise. Just under a half mile is Rogers Park, right off of Rogers Street. Has anyone walked at Rogers Park? Okay. Rogers Park is fairly newly cleared, the trail network that's in there. There is a parking area with a kiosk available right off of Rogers Street. And it's very open and airy, and I think you can feel you can feel safe in all of our spaces, but I think it's in a residential area, so you're not going to go too far afield when you're walking in Rogers Park. Anything to add? There's ferns, beautiful ferns in Rogers Park.
I'm looking at the map that we have up. There are a few cross trails in there and another side trail that comes in near Kennedy Street. And I'm not supposed to do this.
Here.
Oh, yes.
The button's on the side.
This is the right-of-way that was cleared by National Grid, I guess, for the gas line. So it's about 40 feet wide. And if you come down the end of this, you can go under the power lines, and there's another section of Rogers Park over here that really isn't developed, but there's a stream over there. There's an old, looks like a foundation maybe for some kind of a mill or something. So if you want to get out and explore, there's a lot more than just this one loop trail here. There's several side trails that are not showing.
Okay. The next trail that we're going to talk about is the Pine Cemetery Trail. Who's familiar with the Pine Cemetery off of East Street and some of the wonderful work that volunteers have been doing out there to clean up the area? This spring, Karen, they're going to also be doing some poison ivy removal in that area, so that it will be a little bit easier to navigate without any implications, let's say. The Pines Trail itself is about 0.27 miles, but there are 3+ miles of trail network in that area that lead off into areas around the Livingston Street recreation area. You can park at a kiosk off of East Street, or you can park over across from the State Hospital on Livingston Street. And even though there are signs posted that say state property, that is conservation area. Residents are welcome to walk on those lands and enjoy that space. If you do take a pet, though, dogs must be on leash.
Oh, it's because of the riding program.
There's a therapeutic riding program from Strongwater Farm. We also have coyotes in town and other wildlife, and we have a leash law in the community, so simple as that. Even though I know people love to let their dogs run, but. Anything else to add on that one? Okay, wonderful. And then we also have some additional areas to walk. We call it the Pinnacle Loop off of Pinnacle Street. Hard to get to right now. You actually have to go through Andover because the Pinnacle Bridge is closed for construction right now. Bruce has done quite a bit of work in there, and would you like to share?
Believe it or not, I said, no, I didn't need the pointer, but obviously I do. This kiosk is right across from the airfield, if anybody knows where the radio-controlled airfield is. So it is a nice little, very obvious kiosk, and you can park here, you can park at the airfield. And, oh, I'm sorry, we're in the wrong place. We want to be up here. Yeah, I'm sorry, wrong place. So if you're parked in here, you can go in, there's a loop that goes around, and there's some really nice views over here. We have a bench that we built, town funded, and we put the bench up there overlooking the marsh. Then you come down through here, there's a 219-foot boardwalk in there somewhere that we built about 3 years ago now. And that takes you right across the swamp, so if you like boardwalks and whatnot, that's a fun place to walk. And then you get up into the cornfield over here, and so you can look across, and there's another brook, and there's an old bridge back in here. It's actually just 2 piers now because the whole thing has been washed out. But you used to be able to go across there and get into the land behind Jones Farm Apartments, and where Farmer Dave has his stand, that field. You used to be able to get across there on that bridge, but that is gone. And from there, you can go all the way down to, across East Street and then across Maple Street and into the woods over by the Pine Cemetery. And what's really kind of exciting, I don't think we even have one of these, is if you go up Pinnacle Street and down Blythe Street, there's an entrance between 2 houses. It's, again, not marked right now, but it is town-owned land. And you can go between those 2 houses, you go in there, and there's a whole other set of bridges. Andover's built about 500 feet of boardwalks. One of them's not done yet. But from that entry point on Blythe Street, you can go all the way to the Merrimack River. This is, I have a flyer up here, but this is part of the Bay Circuit Trail loop that, well, it's a leg that'll be replacing the Lowell loop eventually when Bill Recca gets their trail built. But when this bridge is finished, and it should be finished this fall, I hope, you will literally be able to walk all the way from essentially the East Street to the Merrimack River on various trails. Pretty cool.
Okay. We have some other trails that we'll talk about in just a moment, but I'm going to go off the path of woodland trails. I will say a couple of cautions that we'd want to share with you. First of all, proper footwear should be obvious. Long sleeves, bug spray now. Don't need to talk about that anymore. I would make sure you have your cell phone with you, water, and just a partner probably would be great. Although my husband goes out at 6 o'clock in the morning and loves to walk these trails alone in the quiet and just enjoys the peacefulness of it. So I would say that you shouldn't feel any concern. Enjoy these spaces. We have them. They're marked. Get out and get some good exercise. All right, so as an alternative to a woodland walk, we also have some great sidewalks in town. I was able to find information from the DPW about some of our longest stretches of continuous sidewalk. Helvetia Street is about half a mile long, wonderful place to walk. Pleasant Street now, that it has been completed with its sidewalk from Town Hall all the way to Long Pond, is 1.1 miles. So imagine if you parked at Town Hall, walked all the way down to the pond and back, you've just covered 2 miles. And if you took a side path to Helvetia, I did that today, 3.5 miles total. So I can have dessert. Also, Andover Street is 2.4 miles, which is impressive stretch of lane. And anyone who's familiar with 133 and Andover Street knows there's a great hill there that you can use for your cardio advancement. The Senior Center also has a walking club. I'm not sure if everyone knows that. They meet every Friday at 8:30 a.m. They do a walk up at the State Hospital, about 1.5 miles. Sarah Kinghorn is our town nurse, and she leads that group. They wear safety vests and take a leisurely pace, and everyone's invited. You may have also noticed next to the Senior Center there's a small paved loop. And that has some gardens around it. You can park at the senior center, and 12 laps around is a mile. So it's a very contained area. If you're at the senior center already voting, go do 12 laps, and then you'll have your exercise and your civic duty done for the day. In addition, we have some walking tracks in town, and I'm not sure everybody knows that you're welcome to use those. Outside at Tewksbury Memorial High School, we have a walking track. Of course, be respectful of the sports activities that are going on, but if there's no organized sports, you're welcome to walk around the track. The Ryan School at Doucette Field also has a walking track. And inside at Tewksbury Memorial High School, upstairs, free of charge, the public is welcome to walk Monday through Thursday, 6 to 9 p.m. It's a great option in the cold weather. Just park your car, go in, put on your headset, bring a friend, walk around the track. There's no running, but it's a wonderful place to walk. And then you've got your restrooms, water bubbler, very, very civil way to go. So I do encourage you to take advantage of that.
Closer than the mall.
And it's closer than the mall, that's exactly right. How many people have been walking at the high school or were even aware of that? Okay, so I will see you all there this winter. Okay, some additional walks in our community that you may or may not be familiar with. One is the Sanborn Reservation. It's technically in Andover, but it's at the end of South Street. Drive all the way to the end of South Street. There's a small parking area, and there is a brown informational kiosk. It's a well-marked trail. It does go along Route 93, but it also goes along the Shawshene River. And it's lovely. And in fact, what you'll see out there is the lightning tree. There's a giant tree that was felled by lightning, and you'll see signs for the lightning tree reservation. It's very dramatic. So I encourage you to go check that out. That's a terrific Sunday morning walk. Also the Poplar Well Fields, and Bruce just mentioned Bly Street and or the Andover Ball Fields, whichever end of the trail you come at it from. Anything else about Poplar Well Fields?
Just we park at the end of Poplar Street is about it. It's about a half mile in and back out, but it's pretty.
And we don't have markings out there, but that's an opportunity down the road. Also, there's walking in developments. We have Emerald Court in town, De Palma Estates, Merrimack Meadows, and some wonderful neighborhoods, including Mitchell G., you name it. I know that everybody in the community might have their favorite where they're walking. Don't forget Belvedere also. Okay, it's in Lowell, we'll give it a pass, but it's a wonderful place to walk. It's hilly, they have sidewalks, the homes are just spectacular, turn of the century, beautiful homes, and that's another great place to walk. You can park over behind the stadium, Colley Stadium, over near the Janus Skating Arena, and set yourself up into Belvedere. And again, we talked about safety. We want you to wear reflective clothing, take a flashlight, phone, whistle, water, insect repellent, umbrella. Not sure if you've ever been caught. I have. Thought I was going to beat the clouds, didn't. So just be prepared when you're walking. And I don't know how many people also use walking or running apps, but it's fun to sort of keep track of your progress, see how many steps you've taken, see the distance that you've gone. And I try to best my time when I do my walking. I'm not always successful with that at all, though. Okay, and just for those who aren't familiar with where some of these sidewalk locations are, this is the Andover Street, Helvetia, and Pleasant.
You want the pointer?
Wow.
All the way up.
Well, you know.
You all see that nice and clear, right?
So this picture, by the way, is part of the sidewalk master plan for the community. And there is a whole network of sidewalks that are, you've seen work on East Street right now, for example, that are slowly but surely being built for connection in our community. So that's been a priority for the town. And I'm not going to speak on behalf of the town, rather as a resident, I'm very excited to see that these networks are being built out and connected. I know after Pleasant Street was finished, the town was so excited to see people with strollers, families out walking, enjoying a very safe, long stretch of sidewalk in our community. Okay, Bruce is going to talk about a quick walk that he does.
And once again, I think Paige said that everybody's probably got their neighborhood walk. So when we were putting this together, I said, well, hey, you know, we've been doing this walk for like 20 years, and lots of people go out and walk it. It's pretty level. It's got one little hill in it. And I thought, you know, I'm sure all of you out there have your walks if you do this, but I live on Lucille Drive, so we go out to Salem Road and go left or right, and you know, we take this loop, and there are some side loops off of it that are fairly interesting. So the basic loop there is 2 miles. It's all either sidewalks or essentially quiet side streets, so you don't mind walking on the road. And if you want to add in the loops, you can get it up to about 3.5 miles. One of the things that we do is periodically we'll announce a guided hike. And we've done guided hikes over at the Chandler Well Fields, up at the Pinnacle Trail. I think we've done a couple up there. But I would like to offer somewhere down the road, not too far down the road, a guided hike on the Bly Street Trail so people can get familiar with that particular area. So if you want to sign up for the photos email list, we'll put it out on the photos list. We have about 220 names, Jackie?
Yes.
Somewhere around there, but we got about 220 names on our list. We had one walk off of that original email list when Kyle was here, Kyle Boyd, and I think we had 140 people show up for a walk at the Chandler Well Fields. A little overwhelming, but it was pretty cool. So if anybody's interested in a guided walk down the road, I'll have a sign-up sheet up here. You can give your email to us, and we'll get you on the list and make sure you get notice when we're doing a guided walk.
Thank you. And actually, while we're plugging events, I'll also mention the town cleanup on October 5th. You'll see information about that on the Town Center board as well. That's sponsored by the Beautification Committee, but also Open Space and Recreation people come, everyone who's interested in keeping the town clean. All of our open space areas are carry in, carry out. I'm sure, again, that's obvious to everyone here, but clearly there are some who don't honor that, and we're working very, very hard to keep our community clean. Many of you, I know, enjoy spaces in other communities that are pristine, and we'd love for that to be the case here. There's no reason it can't be. So just want to welcome you out to pick up more trash on Saturday, October 5th. Okay, we have just a couple more visuals on some trails that Bruce mentioned. These are the visuals of the Andover Ball Field path and Bly Street. And you can see Motion X is what Bruce is using to capture the information and the Poplar well fields. I personally have not been to Poplar. Has anyone here been to Poplar? It is different. Okay, and then we also have a QR code later on if you'd like to come use this and grab the maps. We have a green option for how you can get the information on our trail maps in the community, or you can go to the town website or pick up a mail packet, map packet here. Oh, yes, no, thank you. Information sheets as well. Okay, yes. Oh, Karen reminded me, for those of you that are interested in letterboxing and geocaching, that's another great excuse to get out and explore our trails. There are several hidden treasures out on the trails. They're known as letterboxes or geocaches. If you are interested in letterboxing, atlasquest.org, and geocaching is geocaching.com. You can follow instructions, little riddles sometimes, and find hidden treasures, ink stamps usually, out in the woods. Sometimes they're at your local library. And it's a wonderful treasure hunt, a great way to get the kids out on the trail. That was a way my family and I were able to discover so many trails in and around the Merrimack Valley through geocaching and letterboxing as well.
And the town of Tewksbury sponsors, let's see, we have, well, I maintain them, but there's the geocache located at the Chandler Wellfields. We have one in the Overlook at Strongwater Brook, and we have one at Foster's Park. And I have two personal ones at one in the cemetery, at the Pine Cemetery, and another one in the local Tewksbury Cemetery. So if you don't know what geocaching is, sounds like it might be something you'd like to do with your kids or whatever. Just go to geocaching.com and you can get started. And you plug in coordinates and you can go seeking. And it's a pretty fun hobby, kids or not kids. Thank you. Do you want to talk a little bit about
Whatever you. Okay.
Okay, all right, so we're going to break from this for just a quick moment, and Jackie's going to offer some information about invasive species that you might see along the trail. These are not animals, these are plants. Just as an FYI for you, so you can be a little bit aware about what you're actually seeing as you're walking on our trails in the community. And then we're going to turn it over to Jeff so he can talk about his odyssey of running all of the roads in Tewksbury.
Hi, I'm Jackie Stone. I'm a member of the Friends of Tewksbury Open Space. I'm an amateur naturalist and an amateur botanist. I'm actually a biochemist, but so anything that has to do with life, I kind of really appreciate. And I've been involved in both gardening and the great outdoors since I was a wee bit of a thing. I didn't grow very tall, but I still kept at it. I do want to say that one of the greatest things about the trails, the woodland trails that we have in Tewksbury is A, that there's so many of them, B, that thanks to a lot of volunteers over the last 4 years or so, the trails are open. You used to have to climb over tires and downed trees, and now the trails are very nice woodland walking trails. They do have roots and whatnot still in them. They're trails that you would see, along any Appalachian Trail area, for example. But they're here in Tewksbury and available for you guys to go out and walk and enjoy. You talked about lowering your blood pressure, Paige, from being out in the fields or in the woods. There's a term for it. It's called biophilia, and I'm a biophiliac. I can't help myself. I love to be out. I love to have dirt under my nails. And I thought besides all the critters that we have out in the woods here, we have incredible number of plants. And I'm going to bore you with just 2 slides. 2 slides about the nature of some of the plants that we have. And I'm only going to talk about 4 plants. But you'll see everything in the spring from lady slippers and columbine and other native plants in our woodlands. But because we have been bringing in, not that we're bad people, but that non-indigenous plants have been brought to all of North America, we now have many, many invasive species. And I wanted to just mention that there's a difference between invasives and natives. This is the logo for Friends of Tewksbury Open Space. So we have native plants and we have invasive plants. Native plants are plants that were here before Europeans, for the most part. They were here in the 1700s, and they've been actually documented from old collections in herbaria, like, you know, when they press plants together and keep them in a book, they've been documented. So we have about 1,535 known native plants in New England. And we're very fortunate because our climate has been cold enough to prevent just about almost everybody from just coming in and taking over. If you live down south, you have mile-a-minute weed that just takes over acres and acres and acres. But here, we've been protected from that. However, the climate has changed a little bit. And there are now patches of mile-a-minute weed in, I think in Woburn. It's starting to come. We have to keep an eye on plants, believe it or not, that will endanger our own habitats. And these are the kind of things that you might see or keep an eye out for in the woodlife, in our woodlands. So there's 1,500 native plants that live in New England and are similar habitats. So it could be New York State, could be northern New Jersey, the New England plants. 22% of the native plant species are globally rare. They're so endangered. 22%, that's like 300 and something plants, are so endangered that they're endangered globally. We have them. It's our role to protect them. Maybe you don't think about protecting plants. Some people like to save the whales. I want to save the whales, but I also want our habitats and our natural woodlands to remain. And they're considered historic. 31% of the plants in our landscape, though, are non-native. We've brought them here. Who's been to Ireland? Has anyone been to Ireland? If you're in Ireland in the spring in Ireland, not necessarily our spring, you see rhododendrons in bloom all over. Has anyone ever witnessed that? They're beautiful. There's giant acres and acres of purple rhododendrons. They're all Asian. Ireland has been stripped of its woodlands after thousands of years of human habitation. We are fortunate. We still have, here in Tewksbury, lots of woodlands that may have been chopped down or utilized for wood and for farmland, but for the most part, all those old stone walls are at least secondary woodlands, but they're natural, and they're pine and oak forests that are natural to our kinds of locations. So when you go out at Rogers Park or at Foster or at the well fields, you are in a natural New England habitat. And that's, to me, remarkable and really special because we're fortunate that we still have them. I brought two pictures because of a native plant, which is high bush blueberry. It's native. It's has lovely red flowers and red leaves. It has white flowers, and then it has blueberries, which for the most part the birds eat. And burning bush. Burning bush is a plant that we bought in the nurseries. I bought when I first moved to my house 35 years ago. I had a whole hedge of burning bush. We planted along the roadsides. It's beautiful in the fall. It turns incredibly red It's covered in berries, which the birds eat, just like they eat the blueberries. But I find I've now taken all the burning bush out of my woodlands. I find it, and out of my property, I find them in my woodlands every year. Because everyone who still has one, or anyone who has it on the roadside, it makes so many berries that the birds eat them, poop them, and we have more. They have the potential to take over our woodlands as understory shrubs. They would be beautiful, but they would take away the blueberry plants that live in our understory plants. So becoming aware of the fact that we have plants that are invasives, they're the invaders, we really need to be aware of it to preserve those wonderful woodlands that we have. I gave you the website. If you go to mass.gov and say endangered, you'll find the endangered plants here in New England. And I only have one other slide. Just let's see if I can make it go left to right, down to bottom. Okay, didn't. Spacebar? Yay! Okay, thank you. So on the mass invasive plant list, which is mass.gov invasive as opposed to endangered, there are 69 plants that have been found to be invasive plants in our New England area. I showed 3 because they're very, very common, and they're common to different habitats. In our woodlands, we have something called glossy buckthorn. Note it has lots of berries on it. That is a very common problem with our invasive plants. The reason they're the problem is because we have lots of hungry critters, whether they be birds or chipmunks or squirrels. I see them running up and down these shrubs, eating the berries, and I just took a walk at Rogers the other day. As you walk along Rogers, you could pick out a buckthorn and then walk 20 feet and pick out another buckthorn, because these shiny leaves with the berries are just covered in the property right now. I think maybe that will be one of our projects. If you're familiar with this white feathery plant, it's called, I'm sorry I didn't have a space there, but Japanese knotweed is along our disturbed roadside. It's in bloom right now. It looks sort of like a bamboo. Thank you very much. That's the right word. But it's not, but it has a hollow stem like it. It's very difficult to remove, but you can cut it back, cut it back, cut it back, or dig it up, dig it up, dig it up, and it will, you'll get rid of it, but it is incredibly invasive. It is incredibly stubborn, and every one of these little flowers will make a fruit, because everybody's trying to reproduce. It's all about sex, sorry. Did I really say that in front of 100 people? Yeah, I did. But every plant that flowers produces fruit, and all the fruit gets eaten. And all of these spread because they get eaten and distributed. And I think everyone is familiar from the wetlands perspective with purple loosestrife. We went through a period of time, certainly in the 80s and 90s and early aughts, when purple loosestrife just covered our wetlands. Now there's a beetle that has been released and proven to be will not invade any other species, but it eats the seeds of this species. And so we're seeing a decrease in purple loosestrife. It's not gone, but it makes so many seeds and so many flowers that it takes over the wetlands. So I just wanted to show that we have woodlands, disturbed roadside and wetland invasive species. There's 69 of them that are out to get us. And they're plants. Who knew? Watch out. The issue, huh? Yeah. So, and the big issues are that they're introduced species, like I mentioned we don't have rhododendron problems like they do in Ireland, but they do. We have other problems. Habitat loss. The more we disturb the habitat, the more we take away the woodlands, the more opportunity for invasive species we have. Disturbed areas, the more we build or clear zones. And then there are climate issues. There are plants coming from the south to get you. So I just, but thank you very much for your time. I know this is not particularly the most trail related, but these are things that you will see in our great outdoors and are really relevant, just like trash is and plastic bags are, to getting out of our habitat. So thank you very much.
Hi everyone, how you doing? My name is Jeff Tewksbury. Sorry, I might be a little nervous. I don't like public speaking. I like running, not public speaking, definitely. I've lived in Tewksbury my whole life. I graduated Tewksbury High in 1999. I have 4 great kids and a very supportive wife. She's so supportive, she's here on her birthday to listen to me talk about running. she's sick of that. So on April 15th, 2013, I started running. If you might recall, that was the day of the Boston Marathon bombing. Just like most people, I felt kind of watching TV and I felt I needed to do something, didn't know what to do, so I just decided I'd go out for a run. That day people were beeping in solidarity. As I was running, people were waving and beeping because of what just happened. Kind of felt a little guilty because I wasn't a runner at the time, but it really touched me. Before this, I was very unhealthy. I smoked a pack a day for about 10 years, drank a lot of soda, just was very unhealthy. But after this, I started running more and more, and I noticed that I liked the long distances. First, I ran the half marathon, then the marathon. I loved when I was out there, it was all up to me. No one could help me through those miles. No, I could count on anyone, I just had to run. In 2017, I wanted to test myself a little further, so I signed up for a 50-mile trail race called the Stone Cat 50-mile trail race. It was during this time, my training for this race, I thought up the idea for Run Tewksbury. October 4th, 2017, I was on a training run, and I remember thinking I have run tons of roads and trails in Tewksbury, not knowing, and I knew them like the back of my hand. I always thought it would be cool if I could run down some road, get on a trail, and end up in a completely different part of town. I decided I was going to try to run every road in Tewksbury and keep track using Map My Run, and when I got home, I would trace the map on the back of the phone book on the days what I ran that day. On my first long run, I realized I was going to see some really good places in town. So I thought maybe I should start a Facebook page to share them with my friends and family. Have you ever watched a movie or experienced something really nice and you were the only one there and it wasn't as nice? So I thought maybe by sharing Facebook, I could, share some of my experiences. Sorry, I skipped that one. So that was my first run. I just come and I would trace what I ran that day. This here is just the trestle off of Shawsheen Street. So if you're going to Shawsheen, you'll see a thing. It's just a short little trail. It's a really nice place just to get off and just kind of, if you don't want to get off the road for a minute, and just kind of explore. Okay. I was shocked how much interest there was in Run Tewksbury. The page grew fast. I started seeing people that I didn't even know following my page or liking my posts. This picture here is Round Pond, actually. It's taken from Helvetia Street. It's one of my favorite routes to run. So you run down Helvetia, that we talked about, Pleasant to Whipple, then to Pine to Chandler, and then finally Helvetia. It's exactly a 3-mile loop, and it's convenient because I live off Pine Street. There's actually a 5K that takes place on this loop every Saturday morning in the winter, the Fudgical Race Series, and also the Megan McCarthy Road Race takes place here. It's nice too, if you get out early on Saturday mornings and you want to run the roads, they mark the fudgicle race really early. They put a sign saying caution, race in progress. So if you want to go out like 2 hours before, they actually leave the markers up so traffic slows down. Okay, by far one of my favorite places to run in town is on Livingston Street and in the fields. It's part of the Bay Circuit Trails. This is the best part of running in Tewksbury. There is no lack of trails. It's nice to get off the road and explore. This picture here is taken right behind the soccer fields by the old teen center. So you go to the old teen center, right across behind the soccer fields. This picture was taken. You can take this trail all the way to Pinnacle Street. The best part of running in town, running the whole town, is I found new spots like the Roger G. Mitchell Park, which is a 27-acre pine forest that I never even knew existed before I started running. This is a picture of the park there. I was just running one day, saw it, said, hey, I'm going to check it out. It's a really beautiful place to go. One of my favorite days of Run Tewksbury was on October 21st. I set out really early in the morning because I wanted to cover 30 miles in that day. I did all the Whipple Road, the side streets. The best part was when I passed a house on Marston Road and saw a sign that said, "Go Run Tewksbury." Didn't even know the person. I was completely shocked. It was still dark out. It really brightened up my run, knowing complete strangers were out there supporting me. When I started Run Tewksbury, I really had no idea it was going to be so popular. Like I said, a lot of people were messaging me, saying, how do I start running, and things like that. The town crier first contacted me to run a story, and then the Lowell Sun. It's a picture here. I was kind of shocked how popular it became. Another my favorite place, we talked about this earlier, to run is the State Hospital. It's really the best place. It's a hidden gem in town. I mean, it's so peaceful. The buildings are beautiful, no traffic. So it's a nice, quiet place, and these are two pictures of that. These are the trails off of, this is off of Chandler and Whipple. Where Chandler and Whipple meet, you'll see a barrier. You just go in there, there's a paved road. You go in, there's a nice little catwalk. It's about a half mile in and about another half mile out, so it's a great little short trail if you want to get off the road. On November 4th, 2017, I did my first 50-mile race, the Stone Cat 50-miler. Run Tewksbury proved to be a great preparation for this race. I did it in 9 hours and 1 minute and came in 33 out of 118 runners. The picture of below. The picture here is the beginning of the race. It's actually really cool because it's, like I said, 118 runners and it starts at night. They all have their headlamps on, and you're running through the trails and you see all these headlights bobbing up and down. It was really cool. And that's me at the end. I'm still somewhat alive. Another great trail, and I think we were talking about it earlier, is the trails behind Frasca Field. So you just go in behind the soccer fields, and you can follow the trails all the way through some nice cornfields, and I love that place. And it brings you right out at the cemetery, like we discussed earlier. It's a great place to run down. Because I have 4 kids, I usually start my long runs early in the morning, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. I've started runs. Best part of that is you see some really great sunrises, sorry. This one here was right across from the junior high school. I've seen some really nice ones on Livingston. It's a really beautiful thing. Okay, these two pictures here, and we discussed these earlier, these are between East Street and Pinnacle, the trails between East Street and Pinnacle. This is a bridge that goes under the train tracks. It's really a neat place to run under. And my favorite place, and we talked about this earlier, is the boardwalk that goes over the wetlands. And during a long run or just a hike or anything, it's just beautiful to get out there and just run over that. It's a lot of fun. Okay, so on December 22nd, 2017, I finished all 306 miles of Tewksbury. During my experiences, I learned how beautiful the town is, but more importantly, I found out how many great people there are in the town. I got tons of support through my Facebook page, and on every run, at least one person would beep and wave and say, "Go run Tewksbury." There was once a guy walking a husky. He's like, "Yeah, the Run Tewksbury guy." I'm like, "Hey, how you doing?" So it was kind of cool. Even though that Run Tewksbury experience is over, I still do post things on my Facebook page once in a while. Some of my really, fun runs. This one here, it was the Saturday before the Boston Marathon, and I started at Tewksbury Town Hall. It was about like 5 in the morning, and I ran 38 all the way to the finish line of the Boston Marathon. It was kind of a cool thing. It was just something I was bored and wanted to do. So it was like 23 miles, took me like 3.5 hours, but you could pretty much get almost all the way to Boston from 38, going through Reuben and stuff. It was really a cool thing. But by far, my favorite run, and I do take a lot of time, to run. It does take a lot of time but I've noticed my kids, my 4 kids, they now want to run or walk or work out or just get healthy in general, eat better. So my favorite race by far this is a 5K, Megan McCarthy 5K, I forget the year it was. I think it was 2018. Yeah, 2018. And me and 2 of my daughters ran it, and my daughter came in second place. One of my daughters came in second place for her age group. And it was just, that's what it was all about, so. This is the Vermont 100, so I did sign up for a 100-mile race. It didn't quite go as planned. I broke my rib at a Tough Mudder 8 weeks before the race. I broke my rib, and I couldn't train for 8 weeks up to the race. The doctor said I could run it still, but do not train. So I made it to mile 63, and had to drop out, unfortunately. So everything doesn't go as planned, but this is a beautiful race, and I'm still debating. Maybe if I give it another shot someday, we'll see. But that's pretty much it. So thank you for your time.
Not at all. Is there any questions for Jeff?
Jeff, do people ever run with you? Just, they see you running and they say, oh, I'll run, a couple of
Maybe a little bit. I got a lot of people questioning on Facebook. Where was that? How do I get there? How do I get started? Sometimes people do.
I have a question, Joy. What was the most interesting street that you discovered?
Interesting street, huh? I like, what's the development off of Whipple? I forget the name of the development. It's like a circle. Yeah,
Farwood?
Yeah, Farwood. Yeah, that's a nice place to walk, too.
It is a great place.
Yeah. It was mostly the paths, the trails I would see. Like I said, like Roger Park there, that I never knew existed until I started doing it. The hardest part, I would say, would be the dead ends in town. There's a lot of dead ends. And when you're running, there's a lot of dead ends. We were out for like a 20-mile run, I used to just run straight, and now you're running, literally just turning around, so that was probably the hardest part.
How did you come up with the 306 miles? Did you do them all by hand, or did you?
No, I have map.
Atlas.
I have a map my run, map my run, so we keep track of all my runs. And like I said, when I got home, I would trace in the phone book. But it ended up being 306 miles, but that's because of a lot of one-ways. In and outs, so I wasn't stopping it. So mileage-wise, it's less than that. But if you're running in and then running out, it was 306 miles.
So Jeff, what's the best time of day to run when there's no traffic?
Well, yeah, probably like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Like I said, my favorite place is Helvetia to run. Don't do it around like 2 o'clock, because that's when high school gets out, and I've had some close calls there.
That's great. Any other questions about walking, trails, opportunities? Anything to share? Good question. I would say they'd be mountain bike friendly, but not road bike friendly.
I ride my mountain bike on the ones, Pinnacle Street and Livingston. I ride my mountain bike there all the time, and they're pretty easy.
As far as biking on the trails, when we built the boardwalks, we tried to make them so we could ride bike up and over. But generally speaking, some of them have steps, so you're going to have to get off the bike and get up over that, unless you're really good at jumping. I've seen people do it, but I never do that. If anybody is interested, I think Paige mentioned this earlier, take this opportunity. So we have some of these map packets, right? Come up and get one if you want it. We have, don't get your credit card out yet. Brochures for the Bay Circuit Trail, which is a 230-mile loop, basically from Plum Island to Kingston Bay. And it's a front country trail, so it's in the woods as much as possible. I think 65% is in the woods. And some of it's on the street, some of it goes through the city wall, but it's been in the works since like the late 80s. Actually, it was conceived in 1929. But here's a little brochure on the Bay Circuit Trail. And you want to take one of those, or look it up online, you can. And if you're online, you want to find out where to go online, I'll put this together so you can not have to remember, but just take one of these with you. While I'm still doing the advertising, these are little flyers for Friends of Tewksbury Open Space, which is a 501c3 that we're trying to get going so that we can basically promote and protect the trails in town as a private organization working in concert with the Open Space and Recreation Committee and the other town committees. But in the long run, what we're interested in doing is maintaining all the trails in town, which basically the town doesn't have a budget to maintain, and making them permanently protected as we can. I also said that's an objective of the Open Space and Recreation Committee and your Open Space and Recreation Plan, which is the 7-year plan that will be signed off on fairly soon.
So any last questions for Paige, Bruce, Jackie, or Jeff? We have, Letitia has a question.
Do you know what the Lyme disease situation is now? What's the Lyme disease situation?
Lyme disease situation?
I do not know.
I think
Really
that,
don't know anything about,
that would be a question for the health department, really.
Yeah.
And I'd like to comment, but I won't. I don't think it's as bad as as people fear, but it is real.
so let me say this about ticks. When I go out in the woods to do work, I end up with ticks. First couple of times, I got really freaked out, went right over to Harvard Vanguard, and the doctor said, yeah, you really don't need to worry about this. You can let it just hang out there or whatever. And I'm thinking, no, get it out. But the thing that I learned about ticks is if you get bit by one, even if it's buried in your arm or wherever, if you pull them out within 24 hours, they can't infect you because the process by which they create the infection, they need about 24 hours for their body to do its thing and transfer that disease into your body. So if you just rip them out in any way, shape, or form, you'll be okay if you do it within 24 hours and sometimes within 36. The other thing I'll say about ticks that I didn't know, but I have learned, is that they're around pretty much year-round. Even in the winter, you can find ticks out in the woods. I've seen dozens of them. So don't be completely complacent if you're out walking in the winter and think that, oh, it's winter, there won't be any ticks. Well, there could be. But they're livable. So I can say, I've experienced too many of them to bother talking about.
Thank you everyone for coming out tonight, and I hope to see you all out walking.